Hi, my name is Jocelynne Scutt, and I'm from Australia and the United Kingdom. I went through the diversity visa process by myself. I first applied for this diversity visa in about 2005, and when I found out that I'd won, I was elated. I was also surprised because it had been quite some time, and by that time I'd moved from Australia to the United Kingdom and was living there. But I contacted the lawyers, DCLO, because it seemed to me that it's a complicated process, and although I'm a lawyer myself, I'm a barrister, it's a very unwise lawyer who represents her or himself, and therefore it was essential to have somebody who was proficient at the process, who knew how to take me through it, knew exactly what had to be done, and knew what the timing was and all the requirements. That's why I contacted DCLO. My impression in terms of the person who first contacted me was that she was extremely efficient, she was also personable, and she didn't let me just drift. I was very busy at the time, and it was very difficult to get together all the documentation, but she just didn't leave me languishing. She kept checking up with me to make sure that I was progressing. So I had this impression of efficiency, but also of not wanting to let people just drift. The challenge with filling out the documents was, as I said, time, and it's not really complex, but it's simply if you do have a complicated history. I've lived in a number of countries, I've studied at a number of universities, I've had a number of careers in law in different agencies and at the bar, and it was simply getting all the dates right, getting all the information right, making sure that it was accurate as possible. Well, essentially accurate. It had to be accurate. So that was the challenge. In regard to my interview, I don't think it was a terribly long time I had to wait. It was between about 4 and absolutely 6 months at the outside. And I was very fortunate because because the lawyers had said that there was possibility, because I'd made my application in Australia, that I might have to go to Australia to do the interview. Fortunately, I didn't have to. I went to the US Embassy in London, and that was very quickly organised. Before I entered that interview, I'd been very carefully instructed by my lawyer as to exactly what was required, to be concise in putting the information, to be prepared to wait for some time at the embassy until your number came up to be interviewed. And I was interviewed for a very short time. It seemed to me between about 15 minutes, it certainly wasn't half an hour. It was quite quick once I got on and very efficient. I did feel I was guided sufficiently by the lawyers in terms of what was necessary. DCLO was very, very clear. The lawyer I had was very clear and accurate as to what was needed. The interview prep call I had was very well handled. It was between 1 and 2 hours. So in a way it was lengthy, but in another way I was very secure because I knew that I was being taken through everything that was necessary. Overall, I did find it a smooth process. The only difficulty I had was because of the pressure of my job, my work. I had to get all the material together. I had 3 countries from which I had to get police clearances because I'd lived in each of them for more than a year, and that simply took time. But once I got going, and I got going because of the prompting of DCLO, then the process was smooth. I didn't really have any big fear in terms of this process. Of course, I wanted to achieve the outcome, which was the green card, and the most significant aspect of it really is the having to be sure that you get all your information right, that you get everything accurate, and of course the lawyers assisted in that, making sure that I did have everything that was needed. Once I learnt that I'd received the green card, I felt again elated and also very happy, because it had been, in one sense, a long drawn out process, because, as I said, I'd put in the application in 2005, and I was also slightly conflicted because I was living in the United Kingdom, but the opportunity to live and work in the United States is one that many people look towards, and winning the green card lottery, of course, is a huge win. Now, today, I'm a visiting professor at the university, the Penn State University, the Dickinson Law School in Carlisle in Pennsylvania, and my plans for life in the US are to make sure that I can continue to live here, that I can take the opportunities that are offered in terms of work, and also the experience of, again, living in the United States. I've lived here before in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I've lived in Texas. I have a sister in Florida. And so it's a huge opportunity for me to make a career and to, as I've said, take advantage of all the opportunities that the United States offers. So I now have the green card. I'm supposed to cheer at this stage, and of course I do, whether it's not literal, it's figurative cheering, and I'm very happy with the professionalism with which DCLO addressed all the issues and assisted me through the process. So thank you to DCLO.